What is going on, y'all? Finally, today is the day where we drive my 6-speed Cummins for the first time after the transmission rebuild. There was some setbacks, but we successfully took the transmission and transfer case out of the truck, put it on a pallet, shipped it to Long Range Gear. They went ahead, went through it, rebuilt everything in the transmission and the transfer case. So it's pretty much a brand new transmission and a brand new transfer case. We got it back from UPS Freight, brought it to the house, installed the brand new clutch, the dual disc clutch that I put in this thing, and then we went ahead and put the transmission and transfer case back in, and we are finally almost ready to drive this thing. So in last video, I was not able to do the hydraulics because I didn't have the right bracket that connected the hydraulics to the firewall. The bracket that I had was for some cheap aftermarket hydraulics, and it did not fit the heavy-duty hydraulics that I got. So I had to order this separately from a different company because the company that makes the hydraulics that I got doesn't make these, I guess. But we finally have the right bracket to attach it to the firewall so we can actually put the hydraulics in. And then another thing, as you can look right here, the major downfall that made all of the events happen leading up to this video was because my transmission had no oil in it. The transmission was like bone dry, got too hot, locked up. So we're not taking any chances. So with the transfer case, give or take 3 quarts of oil. I have some ATF plus 4. I have 4 quarts of it. So if I need a little bit more than 3 quarts, I have it. If I don't use it, that's fine with me. The transmission, Long Range Gear actually sent me 6 quarts of like the best of the best transmission fluid for an Nv5600, the AMSOIL synthetic manual synchro mesh transmission fluid. So we have 6 quarts of this. He said just to dump all 6 quarts in. So that's what we're gonna do with the Nv5600. And then since I did the oil pan gasket, we have 12 quarts of Shell Rotella to dump in this thing. So we should be all topped off on fluids. Without further ado, let's get it. And first start out with the transmission. You just dump all 6 quarts down into here. Fill this baby up. Here's 2 going in. Here's 3 and 4 and 5. And the last one, number 6. So I had actually bought a new gasket for the top of the transmission and also a new gasket like this for the shifter. Long Range Gear actually sent me the same thing that I bought. I'm going to use theirs because I bought mine on Amazon and it's probably some knockoff brand. I don't know what brand they use, but if they're sending it out, I'm going to use it. I also got some new, I don't even know what to call it, collars or bushings that go in the shock tower. So I'm going to use those from what I bought. And let's go ahead and throw this tower on. So these right here are the collars that I was talking about that fit into each one of these bolt holes. These are the old ones. These ones are probably still good, but I got new ones, so I might as well replace them. The bottom side of the kind of spacer gasket, it was just metal on metal, so I went ahead and put some the right stuff black gasket maker. This is oil resistant on the side where it meets the transmission. So I'm going to put these hand tight, wait an hour, and then we can torque them down. Let that gasket sit up a little bit. So we shouldn't have any leaks coming from the top of this transmission. So since I did remove the drain plug to drain the oil out when I did the oil pan gasket, let's put a 60 foot-pound torque on the drain plug. Now, although I did just put transmission fluid in here, so this transmission hasn't even ran yet, but I'm just checking these gaskets, and all these gaskets look to be holding. Nothing looks like it's leaking, so we don't have any leaks so far in the transmission. Who knows if it's going to leak? Hopefully Long Range Gear sealed this thing up good, which I'm betting they did. I don't think we'll have any problems with this thing leaking, but while I was under here, I was just checking. Now we can go ahead and fill some oil, and then also we can go ahead and fill the transfer case full of the ATF plus 4. All right, so I just got the slave cylinder in. I got the master cylinder into the firewall on the new bracket. Fits perfect, really snug. I used one of the old O-rings off of the old master cylinder, and it's a really nice tight fit. It's not going anywhere. Now, the next problem I have is the rod coming out of the master cylinder. There's no bushing on it to fit onto the clutch pedal, so there's a lot of play in it. Well, I contacted Andrew at Long Range Gear, and he said to pick up Dorman part 74014, and it is a clutch pedal bushing. He said you don't even need to use this clip after this, so this is going to make it a whole lot easier to install this master cylinder rod onto the clutch pedal. Now that I've got the clutch pedal all good to go and the center console for the shifter all put back together, I can now fill this thing with 3-ish quarts of ATF plus 4, pretty much until it comes out the fill hole. And I don't know if this is gonna work, but I bought a marine lower unit pump. Hopefully it fits inside these quarts. Look at that, somewhat screws onto it. Ought to be a damn pro thumb wrestler after this. Damn, my thumb hurts. Just got done with the third. I was just getting ready to open up this fourth ATF. And if I stick my finger in, barely at the top, I'm covered in fluid. So I'd say we're good with 3 quarts. Now let's get this drain bolt tightened back up. Or I guess fill bolt. All right, she's full. Last thing we need is the front drive shaft, so let's get it in and take this thing for a cruise. All right, y'all, it is the next day. I just got finished putting the last piece of the puzzle in, the front drive shaft. So we are ready to start this thing. Hopefully the batteries are still good. I've had them moved around into different trucks to move different trucks around the yard, but hopefully these batteries are charged up and we can start this truck for the very first time. I think the battery connections aren't that good. Take 2. Come on. There we go. She running now. So Andrew said to let this thing run like 2 or 3 minutes just to get, you know, the whole transmission all coated, get that fluid moving everywhere, and then also to shut it down for 2 or 3 minutes just to let all that fluid soak into the clutches and all that stuff. Oil pressure looks good, so that means we hooked up the oil suction tube good. Oh, that power steering sounds terrible. We might have a power steering leak. But yeah, I'm just gonna let this truck get up to temperature, let everything all move around, and yeah. So one thing I do actually have to do before I could drive this around the yard, but before I take it on the road, I actually noticed this snap ring in the floorboard, and this snap ring goes into the pedal assembly. So I have to figure out which side it came off of and install this back in, because if that rod slides out, I have no pedals. I got no brakes, I got no gas, I got no clutch. So I have to put this snap ring back in where it is before we actually go ahead and take this for a drive on the road. It doesn't look like anything's leaking from the new rear main seal and the new oil pan gasket, so that's good. All right, let's shut this thing down and wait a few minutes for all the oil to settle. So even though I didn't actually rebuild this transmission, I rebuilt the transmission, the Nv5600 on my lifted truck. There's always just a thought in the back of my mind, just because this is my own truck, but like, I did all the work. There's always a thought in the back of my mind that something is gonna go wrong, even though Long Range Gear professionally rebuilt the transmission and transfer case. There's nothing really you can screw up putting a clutch in unless you don't tighten the bolts down, which I torqued everything down and Loctited everything. So literally nothing can go wrong, but there's just always a thought in the back of my mind that something will go wrong. All right, I think I gave it some time to let it sit, and let's put this thing in gear for the very first time. So I also don't know if I need to adjust the clutch. The new hydraulics has a rod that you can adjust, so pretty much it will adjust where the clutch engages. You want it to be like halfway. So I'm not sure where the clutch is going to engage, but that's not good. Oh, that's not good. The clutch pedal just broke. So it looks like the new clip that I got, that Andrew told me to get, popped off. It's seated all the way, but it pops off real easy. Hopefully it doesn't do that while I'm driving. So, second gear. And the clutch is engaging about halfway. Power steering sucks. But there it is. So I lost one of the vacuum line. I don't even know what you call it. There's two vacuum lines for the transfer case, and they have these little rubber things that connect the lines to the metal lines. The plastic lines to the metal lines is like a little rubber piece, and I lost that. So I got to get another one before the transfer case can actually probably go in gear. But we're cruising around in second gear, just letting all this fluid just move around, and maybe I'll shift to third gear real quick. See how smooth the clutch engages. It is a dual disc clutch like I mentioned. That engages really nice. This transmission is feeling great. It is feeling nice. No grinding whatsoever. This clutch is actually pretty dang quiet. It is a quiet dual disc clutch, and I only hear the power steering pump. I don't hear the clutch whatsoever. So this thing is actually pretty dang quiet. And this clutch engages so smoothly. I need to add some ATF into this power steering pump. It sounds terrible. I got to fix that leak. Probably just get a new power steering pump. Shift to third. Clutch engages really smooth, and this transmission's feeling amazing so far. No grinding, smooth engagement. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and add some ATF into this power steering pump so it can quiet the hell down. And then I'll figure out where this piece goes. I gotta give this truck a quick wash before we do anything. And then we'll take it on the road. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the maiden voyage. Let's see how this thing does on the road. Might have to adjust that clutch. When I was trying to put that little C-clip in, it kept backing off. So one thing I gotta say is that little bushing that I got for the clutch pedal, I don't think it's gonna work. It comes off way too easy, so I guarantee as I'm driving it may pop off. Right now as I'm driving, it may not. It may, at some point it will pop off. Quick edit right here. Although that clip in theory does seem like a good option, I just went ahead and I didn't know that you could take off the bushing off the old one. I'm gonna go ahead and swap it out for that clip. The clip doesn't seem to work while I'm driving, so that's my only issue with that. It just doesn't have a good fit. Been a while since I drove this truck. Yeah, that clutch still needs to be adjusted. It's engaging way too close to the top of the pedal. It needs to be more towards the middle. But she's driving good, engaging real good. Go ahead and turn around up here and then flip back home. Hell yeah, boys, we back in business now. Yeah, that clutch pedal is just, it's not right. It needs to be adjusted. So this truck definitely needs an alignment sooner rather than sooner, or else I'm gonna chew the front of these tires up. I thought I got it pretty straight. It drives pretty straight, but I don't know, maybe just be second gen, the steering's just always wobbly. But I do want to get this on an alignment rack and get it professionally aligned. So like I said before, man, this clutch engages super smooth. Transmission super smooth, no grinding whatsoever. I can find the gears pretty easy. It's pretty much what you would expect from a completely fresh rebuilt transmission. No complaints whatsoever. A dual disc clutch is definitely worth it if you guys are looking for a clutch, even if you aren't going to get close to the 550 or 650 horsepower rating that this clutch offers. A quiet dual disc clutch is just always the way to go. There's no point unless your budget, you can't afford it. But if you can afford it, go with a dual disc clutch. It's going to be night and day difference between a single disc. I mean, some dual discs, they're loud. They are super loud, and I can't hear this one whatsoever. So definitely glad I went with the dual disc clutch. And big shout out to Long Range Gear for rebuilding this transmission and transfer case for me. Like I said before, I need to get that rubber piece for the vacuum line for the transfer case. But I'm loving how this thing is driving. The transmission it is. The truck drives like a wagon with the steering. I did put HEF in. The steering is quiet down a little bit, but it's a little stiff when you go to turn, so we may have to be doing hopefully not a steering box, because really nice steering boxes cost a lot of money. But a steering box, maybe power steering pump if it is leaking. I don't know if it's leaking from the gearbox or the power steering pump, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. We're still good on oil pressure, so that's nice. We're not, you know, losing oil pressure. Coolant's good, battery voltage is good, and I got one click above quarter tank. So I'm gonna get this thing home and we'll close this video out. Oh, that first drive could not have gone any better. I didn't hear any weird noises. We didn't lose a drive shaft. I am beyond happy that this truck is finally back on the road. Huge shout out to Long Range Gear for getting it done for me. They actually got the transmission back in a month, but we had 2 hurricanes come through here and I just couldn't put it in the truck until, you know, when I did. So huge shout out to Long Range Gear for rebuilding my Nv5600 and my transfer case, getting it back super quick turnaround time. They also sold me the dual disc clutch that I got for this truck. Like I said before, I've said it multiple times in this video, smooth engagement with that dual disc quiet clutch. Super quiet transmission, no grinding, no weird noises, engages super smooth, buttery smooth, and this truck is now back on the road. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to go check out Long Range Gear, always is linked down below in the description. Go check out their website. If you guys need a transmission rebuild, hit them up. If you guys need any other parts for manual transmissions, check out their website. That's gonna do it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos, and we will see you in the next one. Dippin' Diesel out.